Okay, SOTC 52. Good morning, good afternoon. We're up here at our family cabin in Gray Eagle this morning. This is chapter 37, half a loaf, and it talks about 5 loaves and 2 fishes in Matthew 14. And this is a weekly devotion. We're trying to get all these tapes done, and when they're done, I won't have to do this anymore. I won't have Mike chasing me around. But this is like I think all of these are. It's an important devotion to read and to understand. With these 5 loaves and 2 fishes, what happened was they multiplied the food to feed 5,000 men, but there was women and children. So you can infer by that there was probably somewhere around maybe 10 or even 15,000 people. So each disciple, if there's 12 disciples, basically had to feed 1,000 people. So if there are 5 loaves and 2 fishes, then each disciple got a half a loaf and a part of the fish. That's all they had. You read the story carefully, and the reason why we call this chapter half a loaf is if you split up that loaf of bread amongst the 12 disciples, they each had a half a loaf, right? So now, this is why this is important information for you to know listening to this video. The fish and the loaves didn't get multiplied in Jesus's basket. So you might ask yourself, well, man, what's that got to do with anything? Well, it's got everything to do with everything. If the fish and the loaves had been multiplied in Jesus's big basket, right, then the disciples would have been running up and down the hill, getting food and bread and fish from Jesus, and then going out and feeding the people, going getting bread and fish from Jesus, putting it in their basket, going out and feeding the people. The miracle would have been taking place in Jesus's big basket. And that's pertinent because the way it worked is, it says that the disciples took the baskets and Jesus had given them a part of the loaf and a part of the fish. And then they went out, each one of them fed probably 1,000 people each. The reason that's pertinent is because the miracle happened before their eyes in their basket. And most people, when they're holding a basket in life or whatever it is that they have to do, if it's not enough, they won't move. They say, hey man, I got a half a loaf of bread and a little piece of fish, and there's 1,000 people out here. Hey God, you have to do something here to help me to do what you want me to do. God, please help me. And they just stand there and they pray and they kind of do a circle and they look around and they think about what they're going to do. Then eventually they just quit. What the story is, Jesus gave them a little bit, but it wasn't enough. Then they left with what wasn't enough, and as they moved, then God moved. And that's the story throughout all of history and time. You'll never have enough, but when you move, God moves. And if you don't move, He doesn't move. The pertinent part of this devotion, half a loaf, is they didn't have enough, but as they moved and went out, the miracle happened in front of them. They didn't go back and forth up and down the hill taking Jesus's fish and His loaves of a miracle that happened somewhere up over there that didn't involve them. The miracle involved them in their basket as they went out. And all they had was a half a loaf and a piece of fish. But as you trust God and move out, then that's when the miracle takes place. So whatever you're facing this week, listening to this devotion, reading this devotion, remember one thing, man, if it's not enough, you're in a good place. It wasn't enough for them 12 cats that went out with their baskets. A half a loaf, man, that's all they had. And a little piece of a fish to feed 1,000 people. But as they moved, it was enough. And as you move, it'll be enough for you too.